So I wanted to put the man of God characteristics just before I jump into this video. I have it up there for roughly about 20 seconds. Then the video will start. So welcome back, brethren. I want to tell y'all that this bill, I heard about this bill that they're pushing in Canada, and it's alarming because what it's pushing is alarming. I'm going to play about it's 15-minute long, and I'm going to play most of this video. I'm probably going to edit out some parts of this video because some parts of this video, you know, they get kind of a little political. And honestly, this is not a political thing. This is spiritual. So here we go. You know, give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. All right.
This is a bill that is very disturbing on so many levels, and we'll discuss that in today's podcast. Here it is. This is from LifeSite News. Canada's House of Commons passes an anti-Christian bill that would criminalize quoting the Bible. Let's get on down here and read a little bit of the details of this.
Did you hear that? I'll play that back a little bit.
Of the details of this being
Hold
on so many levels, and we'll discuss that in today's podcast. Here it is. This is from LifeSite News. Canada's House of Commons passes an anti-Christion bill that would criminalize quoting the Bible.
Passes an anti-Christian bill for quoting the Bible. Out of all these problems in this world, they're trying to silence the truth because the enemy knows their time is short, knows his time is short. He's trying to keep as many people in delusion as possible because there's more and more truths coming out. So he's trying to keep everybody locked in on their one thing and not see what's around them. All right.
Let's get on down here and read a little bit of the details of this. All right, the majority of Canadian MPs have voted to pass a liberal bill. Again, this is not something that may pass, this has now passed. This bill will allow the criminalization of religious expression and belief when quoting parts of the Bible, including about homosexuality and gender. We've been warning about this, has been in the radar for a long time. We knew this was coming. And you may be tuning in and say, well, Brother Ricky, I don't live in Canada, so this doesn't apply to me.
See that? They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They're in that mindset where nobody wants to be wrong, to be in your feelings, and your heart can be deceitful, wicked. I think that was in Jeremiah. Was it in Jeremiah? I'll put that up here, but just gonna let some time pass by so you can read it. Because I don't know where I'm gonna put it yet. All right, here we go.
Oh, it will. Because again, just because it ain't in your neck of the woods doesn't mean it's not coming to your door soon. Recently, MPs from the Liberal Party in the bloc in Quebec there in a 186 to 137 vote passed a bill called Bill C9, known as the Combating Hate Act. Conservatives, NDP, and the Green Party's MPs voted against the bill in a rare form of unity among the usually opposing parties. The bill now heads to Canada's rubber stamp Senate for review. A last minute effort by the Conservatives to change the wording in the bill failed to pass. Earlier this week, Liberal MPs forced the bill through the report stage after earlier, as reported by LifeSite News, shutting down all debate on the bill in the committee stage. In comments sent to LifeSite News, Campaign Life Coalition blasted the passage of Bill C9 and called upon Christians and pro-life advocates to prepare for increasing hostility. Quote, with the passage of Bill C9 in the House, Christians and pro-life advocates will almost certainly face an entirely new level of hostility as the door swings open to actual persecution under a quote cloak of supposed legality. This was according to the CLC's campaign's manager, David Cook, who is also a Christian pastor. Cook went on.
Doesn't that like alarm y'all? They're passing a, they're working on passing a bill to harm Christians legally or to arrest legally, to persecute us legally.
Say that the bill C9 was framed as a law going after hate, but in reality, it is a bill that religious leaders from various faith communities say could lead to hate related charges against believers. It empowers ideologically driven police officers and judges to target, for the first time, the very word of God on manners of life, family, and faith. Quote, "We must prepare for the battle ahead," said Cook, adding, "Canadians must commit to the one who has won the ultimate victory over every foe, demonstrated by his resurrection on that first Easter morning."
Now, I just want to point out to all my brothers and sisters out there as well. Remember, remember, the disciples. Some of them were thrown in prison. I believe it was David. David was thrown in prison. I think I'm not even going to speak out of character because I want to say um others, but I know they were thrown in prison. I know there was a few thrown in prison for doing the will of God. You see how that's coming to pass? See how that's coming to pass? They were just trying to do the will of God, and see that? That's why, like, you can't read that as a story. You gotta understand that that's what happened, and that's what's gonna happen. Nothing new under the sun, except for like this beast system that's coming, because there'll be nothing like that. Just like the pharaohs, or I'm sorry, like the Egyptians back then, that we won't see ever again. That's something that we haven't saw and won't ever see again. Now this is a time when this is gonna system's gonna happen, and you know it won't be again.
CLC Director of Political Operations Jack Fonseca noted that the bill C9 must be stopped in its tracks in the Senate, but he admitted, it will be a hard battle as most of the senators were appointed by former Liberal Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Excuse me, guys. The battle to defend religious freedom in Canada has now moved to the Senate, which unfortunately Justin Trudeau has spent the past decade stacking with anti-Christian bigots like Christopher Wells, a radical LGBT activist who I suspect will relish the opportunity to, quote, criminalize parts of the Bible as hate speech. So, guys, you can see how this is concerning. You can see where this is going. Despite this, Fonseca noted that there is always hope that things could turn around. We call upon all people of goodwill to flood senators with phone calls, emails, social media comments, and if possible, personal visits. For those who are Christian, we also encourage these efforts to be reinforced spiritually through extra prayer and fasting between now and the final third reading vote in the Senate.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go. Let's go. It's all the Lord's will, but let's do our part.
God answered those who ask for help. So, if you live in Canada, He is calling on everyone to pray. I would advise even you guys here in America and outside of America. You may be watching from Australia or whatnot or other locations. Pray for our Canadian brothers and sisters. They're already, on Facebook when we post and share things on our Facebook page. They can't even read this. They can't even read the articles. So we have to put, we put the link in the comments, but sometimes they say that they're even there, they're censored. Now, here's another follow up article on this. Christians warn to expect increased hostility and persecution after this bill passes. Let me give you a little more detail about this. Currently, Section 319 of the Canadian Criminal Code, now I had to do some research on this, again, because I'm not Canadian. This provides a specific safeguard for people of faith. It states that a person cannot be convicted of, quote, willful promotion of hatred if in good faith they express an opinion on a religious subject or an opinion based on a belief in religious text. However, this this new bill, Bill C 367, the Act Bill C9, excuse me, they're mingled together here, explicitly repeals this defense. Without this protection, listen to this, critics say that quoting specific biblical passages on marriage, sexuality, or sin could be legally reclassified as hate speech.
You hear that? The word of God. That's the word of God. That Satan and those that are following him and working are trying. Look, y'all, look. That's how you know the Bible is true. That's how you know the Bible is true. Because the word of God changes and it saves your soul. And they're worried about, like I said, all of these problems that are in the world. You understand that? Sin? Murder is a sin. Murder is a sin. So if they, you got to look at all aspects of sin. Lust is a sin. Greed, things that are against God is a sin. That's to show you that it's real, to where they're so focused on that. But you don't hear none of this going on about how, with with Muslims, with the Sharia law, how they have it to where if you don't obey that, you can either pay them to live or they'll take your life in their belief. And we're just speaking the truth. Why is it getting attacked so hard? Because it is the truth, the word of God. I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna jump over here.
Now, here's, uh, against this tyrannical measures that were taken, these draconian measures. Now, here again, upon research of this, historically, a hate propaganda charge required the attorney general's personal consent before it could even proceed. And this acted as a gatekeeper, per se, to prevent frivolous or politically motivated prosecutions. However, this new legislation completely removes this requirement. Now, law enforcement can act more quickly to lay charges based on local complaints. This, no doubt, will open the door for activists to target specific Christian organizations or leaders by filing numerous criminal complaints, bypassing high level legal review that previously protected religious expression. And think about this, too, guys, on a prophetic scale, how close this is pushing us to that beast system. When the state begins to criminalize the Bible, It will force a separation between those who are willing to obey the Lord, regardless of what the consequences will be, or those who will bow down and conform to the government at hand. Remember, you remember in the book of Acts, they were doing this. The the city officials told them, you will not preach Jesus in the cities. You will not do this. And if you do this, you will be arrested. And what did they say? The apostles said, whether we obey God or man, let it be known to us, let it be known to you that we shall rather obey God. We will obey God over you, over man's laws, because they feared God. And what was the result and the consequences? Well, of course, they were persecuted, they were imprisoned. The early church understood what it was like to face real persecution. And here in America, we've had it easy street for years. And I think the winds of change are slowly blowing in, and I think those things could change real quick. This is
Yeah. And that's why he said, don't fear. I'll put that Bible verse up somewhere. But it says, don't fear the one that can kill the body. Fear the one that can destroy the body and the soul, or the stomach and the soul. I'll put that up there because I'm pretty sure I misquoted or I'm blending two verses together. But this is real, y'all. This is real. And I know this is in Canada, but it's the fact that it's happening. That's the problem. And I just had a video the other day about how they were saying the war in Iran from US and everything. They were talking about that this is the war of Armageddon for the return of Jesus. That was said. All right. One love, one brethren, and I'm out.